This is the Architect Lab, the school of sovereign thinkers, a place where we don't rush answers and we don't outsource understanding. If you're here, it's because something in you still wants to make sense of the world from the inside out. After you recognize what it costs to lose sovereignty, there's usually a strange quiet that follows. Not relief, not anger, just a feeling you can't quite name yet. Like something inside you is waking back up. That feeling is where thinking actually begins. Most people think they've been thinking for themselves their whole lives. And in a way, they have. But there's often a moment when you realize something uncomfortable. You've been repeating explanations without ever checking whether or not they made sense to you. Not because you were careless, not because you were stupid, but because no one ever showed you that you were allowed to stop and ask. Outsourcing your thinking doesn't feel like submission. It feels like relief. Someone else must have the answers. Someone else must have checked the math. Someone else must understand the full picture. So you move on. Until one day you realize you've been carrying conclusions you never actually built. And something about that starts to feel wrong. Not loud, just uneasy. Sovereignty doesn't begin with certainty. It begins with a small and honest pause. A moment where you say, I don't actually understand how this fits together yet. And instead of pushing that feeling away, you stick with it. No panic, no shame, just tension. That, that's the first sovereign act. Coherence isn't abstract. You could feel it. When explanations agree with each other, your mind relaxes. When they don't, something tightens. Most of us were taught to ignore that signal, to override it with authority, with credentials, with repetition. But sovereign thinking means learning to trust that sensation again, not emotionally, structurally. Here's something almost no one tells you: you're allowed to go slowly. Understanding is not a race, and it's not a performance. Real thinking often looks like stillness, long pauses, uncomfortable silence, questions that don't resolve right away. That doesn't mean you're falling behind. It means you're finally doing the work internally. When you stop outsourcing yourself, thinking changes. You stop collecting answers and you start assembling them. You notice assumptions, you trace consequences, you ask whether ideas can actually live together. Not to tear them down, but to see if they're real. That's what it means to build understanding from the inside out. Before we talk about cosmology, before space time, equations, or models, this has to come first. Because without sovereignty, even the most beautiful theory becomes something you believe instead of something you understand. And belief is fragile, understanding is not. From here forward, we're going to explore ideas that don't fit neatly into sound bites. Ideas that require patience, but you won't be asked to accept anything on authority alone. Only this: when something doesn't quite fit, don't look away. Stay with it. That's where understanding forms. This feels unfamiliar. That's okay. Sovereignty always does it first. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's been a long time since your mind was allowed to lead. And it comes back faster than you think. This is the Architect Lab, where sovereign minds will learn how to think for themselves. Welcome to reality.